Alright, now I'm here to talk about The Beekeeper. The Beekeeper is a new Jason Statham action film directed by David Ayer. And in this film, the story is really simple, it just tells a story about revenge tale, These kinds of plots have been in Jason Statham's movies for a long time. Because in this film, the plot goes as just a really good revenge film. The plot is there's somebody close to Jason Statham murdered by this unknown undercover syndicate, and now Jason Statham's character must go out for a revenge plot. That is basically the simple plot about this film. And that is the one thing that I appreciate about this film, and that is the simplicity of the plot. These days, action films really tend to overcomplicate the story in order to really make the audiences confused. That is not the case for this film, because this film throws you back to the 90s, to the 80s, when the plot of the action movies were very simple, just like this one. So that is the one thing I appreciate about this film. Now let's talk about Jason Statham's role in this film. As I said before, he normally plays these kinds of characters, these kinds of characters who really just want some revenge, to do something against the bad guys, and he really does it well in this film. His character is really simple, he can be menacing, he can be occasionally funny, it's just normal Jason Statham's character, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now let's talk about the action sequences. Well, there are a lot, because the pacing of this film never really slows down. I appreciate that, because you're here just for the action, not the plot, If you're in a Jason Statham film, you know what to expect, and you really get the action you deserve here, because there are a lot of action sequences, and a lot of them really pushes the realism factor away. And in that context, I really appreciate that approach, because sometimes you're just gonna ignore the realism, you're just going to enjoy the film that you're watching. So, the action sequences are mind-blowing, there are a lot of explosions, there are a lot of gunfights, there are a lot of hand-to-hand combat, and Jason Statham, as always, sells these action sequences very convincingly. When you're watching his character, it becomes believable that he could do the things he's done in these kinds of movies before. So the action sequences really work in this film. Now let's move on to the negative side. Well, there are two negatives in this film, and then the first one, the villain. The villain here is played by Hutcherson. He is just a regular hacker, who hacks people. That's basically his character. But in this film, he really doesn't do much. He's just sitting around and talking. There's nothing important happening to him, and as a villain, you cannot feel the menace of the character at all. He doesn't feel menacing. He's just sitting there and talking and talking and talking, and there's nothing more about his character. Still in the film's corridor, that is Jeremy Irons, and I understand he is a very, very good actor, but he really comes down to the same problem that Josh Hutcherson's character really come into, and that is the script is very confused of finding things that his character must do. So in conclusion, most of his screen time, he really doesn't do anything. He's just sitting around, and that really bothers me, because these two actors are really good actors, and you don't utilize them very well. You don't find something for them to do, to really show their range of acting in these roles, and that is very disappointing. And the second problem that I have with this film is there are two of CIA characters, and for some reason they don't act like CIA and they do not look like CIA operatives. The purpose of these two characters are really just to add in that comedic layers into this film, but that really doesn't work very well, because when you watch the CIA operatives, it shouldn't be like this. They should be really serious and really helping the protagonist solve this mystery, but they really do not do that here. And I think that really reduces my enjoyment for this film, because most of the time I really want to see Jason Statham do this thing, do these action sequences. But when these characters comes around to the screen, you really lose that enjoyment for a while. Yeah, so this film mostly works, but as I mentioned, those two problems really reduces the enjoyment factor for this film. It is very entertaining, but as I said before, these two problems reduces your enjoyment quite a bit. So, to wrap up my review, I will give The Beekeeper a 7 out of 10. So, how do you think about The Beekeeper? Have you seen it? And if you have seen it, what do you think about it? Is it funny? Is it action-packed? Is it satisfying to watch? Everything, drop in the comment section. And I see you in the next video.